Good morning, everyone. I'm Yvonne Adcall, and I'm the Strategic Operations Manager here at DWS. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's virtual training series, First Look Inside the 2025 Wyoming Workforce Annual Report. This series was created based on the feedback that we received from you, our customers. So be sure to check out our upcoming sessions or check out previous sessions by visiting our website, and a member of the team will put a link in the chat for you. Few housekeeping things. Today's session is being recorded, and all of the materials will be available on our site within a few days. If you have questions throughout the presentation, just pop them into the chat, and our presenter will answer the questions throughout the presentation and at the end as time allows. Now let's dive in. Please help me in joining today's speaker, Matt Homala, our senior economist with our research and planning unit. Matt kindly stepped in this morning after our original speaker had an emergency, so we really appreciate him filling in on such short notice. I'm now going to turn it over to Matt, so take it away.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Matthew Halama, and I'm a senior economist for research and planning. Thank you for giving me the time today to talk to you a little bit about R&P's 2025 Workforce Annual Report. This report is an excellent resource and something to go back to if you need to quickly find answers to labor market information questions that may arise. Next slide. Just a little bit about research and planning to get us started. R&P is an exclusively statistical entity within DWS. We collect, analyze, and publish timely labor market information data. We provide this information to the public, legislators, educators, training providers, the media, and more. Next slide. Each year, we publish a Wyoming Workforce Annual Report in conjunction with the Wyoming Workforce Development Council. The 2025 issue was just published in June. This is a great overview of all the work research and planning does during the year. This publication is available online at the URL on this slide, and there's also a link at the top of our main page. This presentation will serve as an overview to the annual report. There are a few images in this presentation that were taken from other presentations or publications that did not appear in the annual report. Next slide. Chapter 2 looks at annual employment and wages using data from the Quarterly Census of Employment and Wages, or QCEW. The data in this chapter show that from 2023 to 2024, Wyoming added more than 3,100 jobs, a 1.1% increase. Total wages increased by $892.6 million, a 5.4% increase. The state's average annual wage was $61,586, up 4.2%. Next slide. I'll be talking about periods of economic downturn during this presentation, and this graphic will help you visualize what I'm talking about. The shaded boxes represent periods of economic downturn: 2015 quarter 2 to 2016 quarter 4, and 2020 quarter 2, 2021 quarter 1. We define an economic downturn as at least 2 consecutive quarters of over-the-year decline in average monthly employment and total wages based on data from the QCEW. This figure shows over-the-year percent changes in employment and total wages from 2014 quarter 1 to 2024 quarter 4. The green line represents over-the-year change in annual employment. You can see how the downturn in 2015 and 2016 was more prolonged. In the 2020 downturn, which is associated with the pandemic and declining energy prices, we saw a sharp drop in employment at the start, but it didn't last as long. You can see how growth has slowed in the most recent years since the pandemic, but it is still positive. Next slide. This figure shows Wyoming's average monthly employment from the first quarter 2014 to fourth quarter 2024. The thin green line represents average monthly employment, so you can see how employment changes from one quarter to the next. Employment increases from first to second quarter, then peaks during third quarter, which is July, August, and September. We then see a decrease in jobs from third to fourth quarter as many of those seasonal summer jobs go away. The blue line is a 4-quarter moving average, which allows us to more easily identify trends over time. You can see in this figure how employment has grown consistently since the end of the most recent downturn, but it did take us a while to get back to pre-COVID employment levels. Next slide. QCW data provide us with job growth by industry. The greatest over-the-year job growth was seen in industries like construction, with 1,281 new jobs, or 5.7%, healthcare and social assistance, 411 jobs, or 1.6%, and professional and business services with 368 jobs, or 1.7%. However, it is worth pointing that Wyoming's mining sector lost more than 1,000 jobs, or 6.1%. Now, some of that change in mining is due to some recent non-economic code changes, but we also did see substantial job losses. Next slide. Data from the QCW show us which industries had the highest annual wages in 2024. The overall average annual wage in Wyoming was $61,586. Mining, including oil and gas, had the highest wage with $106,695, followed by federal government with $88,949, and professional and business services with $85,412, and financial activities with $84,915. Next slide. This figure shows average monthly employment in mining in Wyoming for 2014 quarter 1 to 2024 quarter 4. You can see how employment in mining drops drastically during periods of economic downturn, which are often preceded by declining energy prices and demand. As I said before, mining lost more than 1,000 jobs from 2023 to 2024, but part of those job losses were due to some jobs being reclassified to a different ownership, while the others were actual job losses. Next slide. This figure shows employment in Wyoming's construction sector from 2014 quarter 1 to 2024 quarter 4. Once again, the thin green line is average monthly employment, while the blue line is a 4-quarter moving average. You can see the consistent growth in construction employment since the end of the pandemic, particularly in 2023 and 2024. In the last several quarters, construction has driven Wyoming job growth. Next slide. Another industry that has seen substantial job growth is professional and business services. You can see here just how much employment in this industry increased since the pandemic. These are the largest employment numbers we've ever seen in this sector. Next slide. So what exactly is professional and business services? While some industry titles are self-explanatory, like mining, construction, or healthcare, this one is a little different. Professional and business services is a supersector made up of 3 sectors: professional, scientific, and technical services, management of companies and enterprises, administrative and waste services. So what does all that mean? This industry supersector includes businesses involved in things like temporary employment staffing, computer systems design, legal services, architectural and engineering services, and a whole lot more. Next slide. The QCW provides us with employment and wage data by county. The counties with the greatest job gains from 2023 to 2024 were Laramie County with 718, or 1.5%, Natrona with 555, or 1.4%, Teton with 377, or 1.6%, Albany with 355, or 2.1%, and Sheridan with 292, or 2.1%. Next slide. The QCW allows us to compare job growth in Wyoming and surrounding states. As I mentioned, Wyoming's average monthly employment increased by 1.1% from 2023 to 2024. That really wasn't a whole lot different from most of our surrounding states. Idaho had the greatest increase in employment at 1.8%, while Colorado had the smallest at 0.5%. Next slide. We'll move on to Chapter 3, which looks at population estimates from the U.S. Census Bureau. Wyoming's population in 2024 was 587,618. Next slide. You can see in this graph how Wyoming's population has increased since the pandemic. Again, these shaded areas represent those economic downturns I was talking about in the previous chapter. Next slide. The population was up about 1,900 people, or 0.4%, compared to 2023. Next slide. Population was up about 1.5%, or almost 9,000, compared to pre-pandemic levels at 2019, which was 578,759. Next slide. And finally, from 2014 to 2024, Wyoming's population increased by 5,087 people, or 0.9%. Next slide. This figure from Chapter 3 shows population change from 2019 to 2024. The blue counties saw increases in population, while the red counties saw population decreases. There were 14 counties with population decreases, with the greatest percentages seen in Sublet with 11.7 and Carbon with 10.2%. The greatest percentage increases were seen in Lincoln with 13.1% and Sheridan with 10.5%. Next slide. Chapter 4 focuses on data from the Local Area Unemployment Statistics Program, or LAUS. LAUS data include the labor force, the number of employed, number of unemployed, and the unemployment rate. We can see here that the total labor force increased from 296,385 in 2023 to 296,715 in 2024. Since 2021, we've seen pretty consistent increases in the workforce and the number of individuals employed. The number of unemployed was 8,639 in 2023, the lowest amount since 2007. The number of unemployed went up to 9,598 in 2024, which was still lower than at any point in the last 10 years. The unemployment rate increased from 2.9 to 3.2%. So to sum this up, we've seen recent increases in the labor force and the number of employed individuals, which are both higher than pre-pandemic levels from 2018 and 2019. In case you're wondering, Wyoming's most recent seasonally adjusted unemployment rate was 3.3% for June 2025. Next slide. This figure from Chapter 4 provides a visualization of the data I just talked about. The black line represents the labor force, and you can see how it has increased since 2021. The yellow bars represent the unemployment rate, and you can see the slight increase from 2023 to 2024. You can see that in 2020, during the pandemic, we had an unemployment rate of almost 6%. Next slide. Chapter 5 looks at annual unemployment insurance claims data, such as the number of UI benefit recipients and the total amount of benefits paid. In 2024, Wyoming had 10,972 UI benefit recipients. That was up over the year by 512, or 5.9%. The average exhaustion rate was 18.1%, up slightly compared to 17.2% in 2023. The average number of weeks claimed in 2024 was 10.3, unchanged from the prior year. Finally, Wyoming Unemployment Insurance paid out $51.7 million in benefit expenses in 2024, up by $6.5 million, or 14.4%. Next slide. This figure shows the total number of UI benefit recipients in Wyoming for each year from 1997 to 2024. Once again, the shaded boxes show economic downturns. This one goes back a bit further, so you can also see the 2009-2010 downturn, which occurred during the National Great Recession. You can see how the number of UI benefit recipients spiked during each economic downturn as jobs were lost. In 2020, Wyoming had 43,630 individuals receiving UI benefits, which marked the largest number of UI benefit recipients dating back to at least 1997. You can see that from 2022 to 2024, Wyoming had historically low numbers of UI benefit recipients. Next slide. Chapter 6 looks at demographics of Wyoming's workforce, which was accomplished by linking data from several of our administrative databases. These numbers represent individuals working in Wyoming at any time during the year, whether that's one day or all 4 quarters. In 2024, there were 351,812 unique individuals working in Wyoming, up slightly 786 individuals compared to 2023. In 2024, 44.2% of the people working in Wyoming were males and 39.2% were females. The remaining 16.6% were non-residents, which refers to individuals for whom data aren't available. Next slide. It's important to understand what we mean when we talk about non-residents. Non-residents are often people who commute to Wyoming from other states or countries for temporary jobs in industries such as construction and leisure and hospitality. For example, a person who comes to Wyoming from Colorado for a construction job in the summer would be considered a non-resident. Non-residents also may be individuals who moved to Wyoming but haven't yet obtained a Wyoming driver's license. Next slide. Again, non-residents often work jobs in seasonal industries like construction and leisure and hospitality. In 2024, non-residents accounted for about 1/3 of all individuals working in construction and leisure and hospitality. Next slide. Figure 7.2 on page 42 of the annual report shows the change in the number of people working in Wyoming from 2000 to 2024 by age. We can see downward trends for most of these age groups over the last several years. Next slide. If we focus in on just the green line, we can see a pretty drastic drop in the number of 25 to 34-year-olds working in Wyoming since 2014. This is consistent with studies, including some of ours, that have shown a substantial decline in younger workers in Wyoming over the last 10 years. You can see how this age group accounted for the largest share of Wyoming's workforce from 2007 until about 2016 and has declined since then. Next slide. Since about 2018, individuals aged 55 and older have made up the greatest proportion of Wyoming's workforce. You can see this in the red line in this graph. You can see consistent growth in this age from 2000 to 2015 as more and more baby boomers moved into this age range. We can also see a consistent decline in this age group since 2019. This is likely due to a variety of factors, including older workers retiring, leaving the workforce, or moving out of state. Next slide. Finally, we'll look at non-residents, represented by the dark dotted line. We can see a substantial increase in non-residents working in Wyoming each year since 2020. There are a variety of factors at work here. One, because of the large number of younger workers leaving the state, Wyoming employers may have turned to more out-of-state workers to fill jobs. Two, some of these individuals who have moved out of Wyoming but haven't obtained a Wyoming driver's license. As we obtain new data the next few years, I think we'll have more information on some of these non-residents and we'll be able to move them into the other age groups. Next slide. Chapter 7 looks at educational attainment in Wyoming and the U.S. by using data from the Census Bureau's American Community Survey. For example, in 2023, Wyoming had a greater percentage of individuals with a high school diploma or higher compared to the U.S., 94.1% versus 89.4%. However, Wyoming trailed the national average when it came to individuals with a bachelor's degree or higher, 29.9% to 35%. In other words, we have a greater percentage of the population with a high school diploma, but a smaller percentage with a bachelor's degree or higher. Next slide. Chapter 7 also looks at the difference in educational attainment between males and females in Wyoming. In 2023, females were more likely to have a high school diploma or higher, 94.7% to 93.5%. In addition, females were more likely to have a bachelor's degree or higher, 31.5% to 28.4%. Next slide. Chapter 8 looks at long-term industry and occupational projections for 2022 to 2032. These projections show Wyoming adding 35,000 new jobs over that 10-year period. Beginning with industry projections, leisure and hospitality is projected to add the greatest number of jobs with 6,200. Healthcare and social assistance is projected to add 4,600 new jobs. And construction is projected to add 4,000 new jobs. Next slide. Chapter 8 also discusses R&P's most recent long-term occupational projections. Occupational projections provide us with even more detail as we're able to look at projected openings due to not just new jobs or growth, but also exits or people leaving Wyoming's workforce. This could be people retiring, moving, or leaving the workforce to go back to school or to care for a family member, and transfers, or people changing occupations. These include people getting a promotion or changing careers. Total openings refer to the sum of openings due to growth, exits, and transfers. In occupational projections, growth is just a small part of the total projected openings. Occupational projections also provide the level of education, experience, and on-the-job training typically required to enter that occupation. Next slide. Table 8.2 on page 48 of the annual report shows the top 10 occupations with the greatest number of projected openings. This table is an excerpt of Table 8.2 and shows the top 5. Next slide. Looking, for example, at heavy tractor trailer truck drivers, which is highlighted in this slide, we see that projections show this occupation growing from 6,577 in 2022 to 7,752 in 2032. That's 1,175 new jobs. In addition, we're projected to see 3,243 openings due to exits and 4,197 openings due to transfers, for 8,615 total projected openings. This is an occupation that typically requires a post-secondary non-degree award or a certificate, no experience, and short-term on-the-job training. Next slide. Overall, as shown in figure 8.1 on page 49, our long-term occupational projections show 379,470 total job openings in Wyoming from 2022 to 2032. You can see the vast majority of these require a high school diploma or equivalent, 39%, or no formal education, 34.3%. Together, these two groups make up nearly 3/4 of all projected job openings. Occupations requiring a bachelor's degree make up 13.4% of the total, and jobs requiring a post-secondary non-degree award or some other college no degree make up 9.1%. Next slide. Chapter 9 looks at STEM occupations in Wyoming based on data from the Occupational Employment and Wage Statistics Program, or OEWS, and our long-term occupational projections. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics has identified more than 100 STEM occupations, and Wyoming data were available for about 80 of those. In 2022, there were 18,156 STEM jobs in Wyoming, making up 6.2% of all jobs. STEM jobs tend to have higher wages than many other jobs and almost all require some sort of post-secondary education. Next slide. Projections data indicate that Wyoming will outpace the U.S. in STEM job growth from 2022 to 2032. Wyoming STEM jobs are now projected to grow at a rate of 15.3% compared to 9.8% for the US. However, it's important to remember that despite this accelerated growth, there is still a relatively low number of STEM jobs in Wyoming. In addition, OEWS data show that STEM jobs in Wyoming tend to be lower paying than in the US or many surrounding states. Next slide. As an example, figure 9.1 on page 55 of the annual report shows average hourly wages for software developers in the US, Wyoming, and surrounding states. The average hourly wage for software developers in Wyoming was $61.44 in May of 2023. This is higher than in states like Nebraska and South Dakota, but lower than the national average of $66.40 and the average wage of $69.92 in Colorado. Next slide. Chapter 10 looks at data from our annual benefit survey. We collect data on benefits on a quarterly basis and publish a report on the findings each year. This report looks at the number of employers offering benefits and the number of employees offered benefits. This includes benefits such as medical insurance, paid leave, a retirement plan. We have very detailed information available at levels like employer size, industry, and sub-state region, and for full and part-time jobs. Our survey shows that about 2/3 of Wyoming employees were offered health insurance and a retirement plan. A smaller percentage, 37%, were offered paid sick leave. Next slide. Chapter 11 looks at data from our Occupational Employment and Wage Statistics Program, or OEWS. These data are updated in March and September and published twice each year. The OEWS program gives us data on employment estimates by occupation, hourly wage, annual wage, and more. This information is available at the industry, state, and sub-state region levels. Next slide. For this particular chapter, one of our statisticians looked at OEWS data for healthcare occupations. She looked at how employment changed in healthcare occupations in Wyoming from 2013 to 2023. Overall, during that time, Wyoming lost over 5,000 jobs, or 1.9% of its total employment. But many healthcare occupations saw substantial growth. Home health and personal care aides increased by more than 1,000, or 45.4%. Medical and health service managers increased by 320, or 46.4%. And nurse practitioners increased by 250, or 113.6%. Next slide. Chapter 12 looks at data from the Census of Fatal Occupational Injuries, or CFOI. In 2023, Wyoming had 45 workplace fatalities, up from 34 in 2022. 2/3 of those were in transportation incidents. At the industry level, 17 were in natural resources and mining. Next slide. This figure shows the number of occupational fatalities in Wyoming from 2013 to 2023. You can see that the 45 we had in 2023 was the highest at any time during this period. In 2017, workplace fatalities dropped to 20. Next slide. Chapter 13 also focuses on occupational safety and health, with data from the Survey of Occupational Injuries and Illnesses. The SOI is published annually and collects information only on workplace injuries that result in days away from work. For example, a Band-Aid for a paper cut is not counted as an occupational injury. The SOI gives us information on the number of incidents, types of incidents, and the incident rate, or number of incidents per 100 full-time workers. There were 2,600 workplace injuries that resulted in days away from work in 2023. The incident rate for Wyoming private industry was 2.7, while the incident rate for U.S. private industry was 2.4%. Next slide. This graphic shows the 5 industry subsectors with the highest incidence rate in Wyoming in 2023. Wood product manufacturing had an incident rate of 10.3, and nursing and residential care facilities had an incident rate of 8.6. As a reminder, Wyoming's overall incident rate for private industry in 2023 was 2.7. Next slide. And with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up the presentation. Thank you for inviting me to speak here today and looking over the annual report. And if you have any questions or need any assistance in finding particular data, please feel free to reach out to Michael Moore, as his phone number and email address are provided on this slide, along with our physical address and website. Thank you again.
Thank you, Matt, so much for the presentation today. It was definitely so informative, and thank you so much for stepping in this morning to fill Michael's shoes. I know those were big shoes to fill, but I think you did a great job presenting that information. If anyone has any questions, again, please feel free to put them in the chat. Matt will do his best job at answering those questions, but of course you can always reach out to Michael as well. I do see a question as far as accessing the presentation. So we will be putting this information out on our website under the virtual training series within the next day or two. And I'm sure that one of my team members can put that link back into the chat. So feel free to go out there and pull that information up. It'll be recorded, and the handouts will definitely all be available to you guys. I'm just kind of stalling right now, see if there's anyone vigorously typing for questions. But while we do that, we also always want to get your input as far as like how the presentation went today and how we can improve things. So we are going to put a link in the chat to complete a survey. We definitely would appreciate your feedback so we can continue to build on these presentations. And then I will also announce our presentation for the month of September. It's straight talk on unemployment insurance. We have experts from our office that are set up to do a panel to give you all the information about unemployment insurance. So we'll pop a link into the chat if you're interested in signing up for that presentation as well. So I'm not seeing necessarily any questions coming through, but man, Matt, you did such a great job today, especially, like I said, stepping in at the last minute. We're completely appreciative of all the time that you and Michael put in putting this presentation together for us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions coming in, so I'll give people some time back today, and thank you again. And I hope that you guys all visit us and come to our September training. Thank you.